My son's wife gave me that bottle of red wine like it was something very special, and I should have known something was wrong right then. Victoria was acting too nice the very next day. She called me, asking about the wine, when I told her I gave it to her mom. Caroline, she got very quiet on the phone. It was so quiet I thought the call ended. What was in that wine? Why did she go so quiet? If you are watching this, please subscribe and tell me where you are watching from. My name is Robert Thompson, but everyone calls me Bob. I am 67 years old. I lost my wife Elizabeth 3 years ago. I always thought I was good at knowing if people were being honest, but I guess I was wrong about my daughter-in-law Victoria for 5 whole years. It all started on March 15th. My birthday, Victoria had been calling me more than usual that week. She asked what I wanted for my birthday. I told her I did not need anything fancy, just being with family was enough. But Victoria said she wanted to bring something special. She came to my house with a fancy wrapped wine bottle and a smile that seemed too happy. "Happy birthday, Bob," she said. "I picked this out just for you." The bottle looked very expensive, with red wax on the top and nice writing on the front. It probably cost more than my food for a week. "Victoria, this is too much," I said. I felt bad. She spent so much money. Nothing is too much for my favorite father-in-law. She said my son James came out of the kitchen then. "What's too much?" he asked. I told him your wife bought me wine that cost more than my car payment. James laughed. "Dad, you paid off that car 3 years ago. We ate dinner that night." James told stories from work. Victoria seemed calm, but I noticed. She kept looking at the wine bottle on my counter every time I said, "Let's open it." She said, "Save it for later. It's too good to drink now." She said, saving it for a special day. That should have been my first sign. Something was wrong after they left. I looked at that wine bottle on my counter. I felt something was not right about Victoria wanting me to save it. I always thought Victoria was very careful about everything she did. Like every nice thing she did had another reason. I was too trusting to see it the next morning. I thought about Caroline, Victoria's mom. We had been friends, even though James and Victoria's marriage was not good. Caroline had been sad about her divorce from Richard. I thought maybe nice wine would make her feel better. So I called her around noon. I have a birthday gift to share. Victoria brought me great wine, but you know I don't drink much. I thought you might like it more.
"Oh, Bob, that's so nice,"
she said. She sounded happier when I said that. When Caroline came to my house, I gave her the wine bottle. Her face got bright with happiness. "This is beautiful wine." Victoria has great taste after Caroline left with the wine. I walked around my house and could not stop thinking. I did something wrong, but what was wrong with giving away wine? The phone rang at 6:30 that evening. Victoria's name showed on the phone. "Hello, sweetheart," I said. "Hi, Bob," she said. Her voice sounded strange. "Just checking on you. How are you feeling?" "I am great," I said. "Thank you. Yesterday was nice." "Good," she said. Then she paused. "So how was the wine?" I was surprised. "The wine? Oh, I haven't opened it." There was another pause. Longer this time. "You haven't opened it? No, honey? Actually, I gave it to your mom. You know I don't drink much. And Caroline has been sad about the divorce." The phone got so quiet. I checked to see if the call ended. "Bob, are you there?" she said. "You gave it to my mom." Her voice was different, higher and scared. "Yes. Is that a problem?" "You did what she yelled so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. I never heard Victoria yell like that before. She was always calm and in control." "Bob, what's wrong?" "It's just wine." She stopped talking and was breathing hard. "When did you give it to her this afternoon?" I said. She was happy about it. "Why are you upset?" "I'm not upset," she said, but her voice was shaky. "I just wanted you to enjoy it." "Victoria, that's sweet, but Caroline will like it. She said she was opening it tonight." I heard a sound like a gasp, and then she hung up. That's when I knew something was very wrong with that wine. I tried calling Victoria back, but it went to voicemail. Then I called James, but his phone was off. That's when I really got scared, because I know when something is really wrong. After raising a child alone, my gut told me this was bad. I sat in my kitchen thinking about Victoria's visit, how she said save the wine, how she looked at it, how she asked about how I felt today, how fast she called about the wine, and then I thought the worst thing. What if something bad was in that wine? Something that should not be there? Something dangerous? I grabbed my keys and drove to Caroline's house. My heart was beating fast. Caroline lived 20 minutes away. I drove very carefully, but also very fast. When I knocked on her door, she opened it with a smile and red cheeks. Bob, what a surprise. I was just having a glass of that great wine. I felt relief she was standing, talking, smiling. Okay. How are you feeling? I asked, looking at her face. Much better than I have been. She said, come in. I don't know what was in that wine, but it's like magic. I feel so relaxed. Those words made me feel cold, so I asked, what do you mean? What was in that wine? Caroline laughed, but it sounded strange. Some wines just make you feel different. This one makes me feel floaty, like my worries are gone. My heart beat fast. What poison was in that wine? Caroline was moving a little wobbly, so I asked how much she drank. Just 2 glasses, she said, sitting down with a dreamy look. But I feel like I drank a whole bottle that made my mouth dry. How is that strange? She waved her hand like I'm floating, like everything is far away. I was feeling so sad about Richard and the divorce starting over at 64. But now I don't care. This was not normal wine behavior. Wine can relax you, but it does not make you feel floaty after 2 glasses. So I sat across from her and asked calmly, how do you feel in your body? Sick, dizzy? See things wrong? She thought slowly, like her brain was not working right. A little dizzy, and my mouth feels funny. Dry, but also tingly. I was pulling out my phone before I even finished thinking. We need to go to the hospital. Hospital, Caroline. Looked confused. Why I feel fine, better than fine. That's exactly why we're going. The doctor in the emergency room was a tired woman about James's age. She listened but did not seem to believe me when I said I thought someone put something bad in wine. So you think someone put something bad in wine? She asked while looking at Caroline's health numbers. I know how it sounds, but when I told Victoria I gave the wine away, her reaction was very strong. Caroline, who was pale and confused on the bed, spoke up. I do feel strange, not sick, but not right. The doctor nodded. We will run tests. Blood and pee. If something bad is in her body, we will find it. While waiting, I tried calling James again. This time he answered, Dad? Victoria said you called, but she could not reach you back. James, listen carefully. I gave that wine to Caroline, and now Caroline is in the emergency room. There was silence that felt like shock, not guilt. What happened is Caroline? Okay. I don't know yet, but Victoria's reaction when I told her about the wine was like I said, someone was going to drink poison. James, that's a serious thing. I know, but what good reason could Victoria have for reacting that way? I will talk to her and call you back 2 hours later. The doctor came back with bad news. Your friend has Rohypnol in her body. She said quietly, Rohypnol is a drug used to hurt people. It causes memory loss, confusion, and in big amounts can kill you. The room started spinning. How much did she have? Not life-threatening, thankfully, but enough to make her very sick if she drank the whole bottle. She shook her head, bringing her here was the right call. Caroline, who was more awake now from the IV fluids, looked at me with scared eyes. Someone tried to drug me. It was not you. I said softly, the bad truth hit me. My own daughter-in-law tried to hurt me. The drive home from the hospital at 2:00 a.m. was the longest 20 minutes of my life. Caroline was staying overnight. The drug was leaving her body, but I could not forget what almost happened. Someone tried to hurt me. My daughter-in-law, the woman who married my son, who sat at my dinner table, called me Dad for 5 years. But why I did not really know Victoria at all. I knew the person she showed to family. But what was she really like when we were not around? My house felt different when I walked in. I checked the locks twice and closed all the curtains. If Victoria tried to hurt me, what else could she do? I was too tired to sleep, so I made tea and sat at my kitchen table. That's when I saw my wallet on the counter. It was open. I always close my wallet completely, but now the zipper was open about 2 inches with my money showing. My hands shook as I checked what was parts inside. Everything seemed there, but something felt wrong. I counted the money, 63. I remembered having 80 when I left for Caroline's. So 17 was missing. Someone had been in my house, gone through my wallet, taken money. The only people with keys besides me were James and Victoria. I checked every room for other problems in my bedroom. I found them. My jewelry box had been moved. The little drawer where I kept important things was open. A crack, my grandfather's pocket watch was gone. The only valuable thing I owned besides my house. I sat on my bed as the full truth hit me. Victoria did not just try to hurt me. She came into my house while I was at the hospital and stole from me. Or maybe this was not the first time I spent the next 3 hours checking everything I owned. What I found made me very scared over the past 6 months. Things had been disappearing: a silver picture frame, some old coins, a 50 savings bond from my desk drawer, I thought I was forgetting where I put things, but now I knew the truth. Victoria had been stealing from me for months. The phone rang at 7 a.m. James's name on the phone. Dad, I have been up all night thinking about what you said. And Victoria has been acting strange lately. Secret, she goes out more, stays out late. When I ask where she is, she gets mad. James, there is something else I need to tell you. I told him about the missing money, jewelry, and other things with each thing I said. The silence on his end got heavier. I can't believe this, he finally said. I can't believe Victoria would do this, but the wine thing, Dad, that's trying to hurt someone. We have to call the police. I know we do, but first I need to know why. What reason could Victoria have for wanting to hurt me? I don't know, but I will find out an hour later. James was at my door. He looked like he did not sleep, hair messy, red eyes behind him. Was Victoria, and seeing her made my stomach hurt. She looked calm like always, hair neat, makeup, perfect white shirt, but her eyes looked hard like I never saw before. Hello? Bob, she said calmly. James says there was some mistake about the wine. Mistake, I said slowly. Is that what we are calling trying to hurt someone now? Victoria's calm broke for a second. Something ugly on her face, then she fixed it. I think there was a mistake. Maybe the wine was bad somehow. Victoria, my voice was quiet but strong. They found rohypnol in Caroline's blood. That does not happen by accident. She stared at me thinking, then she smiled. You're right, it doesn't happen by accident. James looked at his wife. What are you saying? I'm saying your father is smarter than I thought. Victoria sat down like she owned my house, but not smart enough to drink the wine himself. The way she said it made me feel cold. Why would you want to hurt me? I asked Victoria. Tilted her head like I was interesting. Do you really want to know, Bob? Because once I tell you, there is no going back to pretending we are a happy family. I looked at my son, who was staring at his wife like he never saw her before. Yes, I want to know. Victoria reached into her purse and pulled out a manila folder, putting it on my coffee table like she did with the wine bottle. This is why she said I opened the folder and saw copies of papers, insurance stuff, bank statements, and on top a life insurance policy with my name on it. Where did you get this? I asked. From your desk drawer, same place you kept your savings bonds, used to keep them anyway. James looked over my shoulder. I don't understand. What does Dad's life insurance have to do with anything? Victoria smiled at him like he was slow. Your father made you the person who gets the money when he dies. James, 5,000. I blinked. It's not 5,000. It's 5,000, not anymore. Victoria pulled out another paper 6 months ago. You increased your coverage. Don't you remember? I helped you with the paperwork. I remembered then. Victoria helped me with insurance papers, saying I needed to sign updates. I trusted her signing where she said without reading it. You forged my signature. I said slowly. I saw your signature. She corrected on a policy increase you asked for. There is a recording of the phone call to the insurance company. My blood got cold. You called them pretending to be me. I called them as you. We sound similar on the phone. Victoria's smile was sharp. Now the increase was approved. Money comes out of your bank account automatically. Everything is legal. James was staring at the papers like they would hurt him. Victoria, you increased my father's life insurance without him knowing. I increased it. With his knowing, he just did not know what he was agreeing to. But that's not the best part. She pulled out one more paper. This one made my heart stop. You also signed a new will. She said a simple will that leaves everything to James, including the house savings and the insurance money. I never signed a new will. You signed a paper changing who gets your money. The will was attached to the back. You did not read it all the way through. I remembered that day. Victoria brought over what she said were normal money papers. I was in a hurry for a doctor's appointment. I signed where she said trusting my daughter-in-law. But that still does not explain the rohypnol. James said, his voice empty. Victoria turned to him with love, which made it worse. Oh, honey, you are not seeing the big picture here. Then explain it to me. Your father has $500,000 in life insurance. He has this house worth $2,000. He has savings bonds, a little pension, altogether about $75,000. The room was quiet except for my old clock ticking. We are drowning in debt, James, your business growth. The new house, my credit cards, we owe almost $3,000, and the payments are killing us. So you decided to hurt me instead. I said quietly. Victoria shook her head. Nothing so big. The rohypnol was just supposed to make you confused. Maybe you would fall downstairs. Maybe you would go outside in your pajamas and get sick. Maybe you would have what looked like a stroke. She wanted it to look like an accident. Victoria's voice was gentle, almost loving. You're 67 years old. Bob, you live alone. You have no real purpose anymore. You are just living, not really living this way. You would go peacefully, and James and I could finally make the life we want. James stood up so fast his chair fell over. Are you crazy? You're talking about hurting my father? I'm talking about solving all our problems with one solution. Victoria's mask broke, showing something cold underneath. He's a problem. James, and problems get fixed. What can you do to me? I had a secret. It would save my life. I smiled for the first time since this nightmare started. I felt like my old self again. Let's find out. The silence was so long. I heard the fridge humming. Victoria was looking at my face, trying to see if I was lying. James stopped walking and stared at us. Let's be practical, Bob, she said finally, with a tone I learned to know. What can you do? Call police, tell them what you gave away. Wine and your friend got sick. I could say about the Rohypnol, which could be from anywhere. Caroline has been sad about divorce. Maybe she took sleeping pills and forgot. Maybe she mixed medicine with wine. These things happen with old people. The mean words hit me like a slap. Victoria was saying it would be easy to ignore anything I said, as confused talk of an old man. I could tell them about the fake insurance papers. Victoria shook her head. Nothing was fake. You signed everything? There are people who saw you, recordings showing you asked for all these change. I was very careful. James finally spoke. Victoria, just stop talking. He turned to me, his face pale. Dad, we're calling the police now. No, I said quietly. We're not. Both looked at me. Not yet, I said. Victoria's right about one thing. I don't have enough proof to show what she planned to do. Victoria's smile came back. Finally some sense, but here's what you forgot, sweetheart. I stood up and walked to my kitchen. I've been taking care of myself for 3 years since Elizabeth died. That means I learned some things about protecting myself. I opened my junk drawer and pulled out a small recording device. This whole talk has been recorded. I held up the device, watching Victoria's face go white. She was trapped. The recording had everything, including your confession to increasing my life insurance without my knowing, faking my will, stealing from me for months and trying to hurt me on purpose. You can't use that. It's illegal to record someone without them knowing. Actually, in this state, only one person needs to agree to record. That was me. I looked up the rules after Elizabeth died, and this was recorded in my home, where I can record talks. James stared at the device like it was magic. Dad, how did you? I turned it on when I saw Victoria reach for that folder. Call it a feeling. I looked at Victoria. Or call it what you learn from living 67 years and knowing a snake when you see one. Victoria's calm was breaking. Bob, you don't understand the pressure we've been under. The debt, the stress, I understand. You decided my life was worth less than your credit card bills. That's not it. I never meant for it to go this far. It started small, just taking a few dollars, here and there. Taking things I thought you would not miss, but then the debt got bigger, and I saw a chance to fix everything at once by hurting me. By helping you move on peacefully. You've been so lonely since Elizabeth died. You've said you feel like you are just going through the motions. I stared at her, amazed. She could make trying to hurt me sound like helping, but you decided to help me move on while also fixing your money problems. The money was never the point. The money was just extra, even. James did not believe that Victoria stopped. Please just stop talking. But Victoria was trying to fix things now. James, you have to understand. I did this for us, for our future. Your father is old. He's alone. He's not really living anyway. We could have used that money to make something great. Together, he's my father. James said, his voice broken. And I'm your wife. I'm the mom of your future kids. I'm the person you're supposed to spend your life with. Doesn't that matter? I watched my son with this hard choice. Victoria was right. He loved her even now. Part of him wanted to make it work. James said gently, you know what has to happen now. He nodded slowly. I know. Victoria must have seen something change in his face because she suddenly stood up, grabbing her purse. I think I should go. We can talk later, when everyone has time to think. No, James said firmly. You're not going anywhere, James. Can't be choosing her over me. I'm choosing right over wrong. What you did, what you planned is wrong. It's bad. Victoria's face got hard. Fine, but before you make a forever decision, think about what calling police means for your father. What do you mean? I mean, Bob is not as innocent as he seems. Stomach dropped. What are you talking about?
Victoria's voice was smooth.
Tell him about the prescription pills. Bob, tell him about the ones you've been saving up. James turned to me, confused. What prescription pills after Elizabeth died? I was very sad. My doctor gave me sleeping pills and anxiety. When I felt better, I stopped taking them, but kept the extra just in case. It's not what she's saying, I said fast. Isn't it? Victoria's voice was smooth. Tell him how many sleeping pills you have. In your medicine cabinet. Tell him about the night last month when you said you sometimes thought about taking them all. That was a sad moment. I would never, what hurt yourself? But you were thinking about it, wasn't you? The Rue Hypno would have just helped you with something you were already thinking about. Victoria took my darkest moment and made it an excuse for her actions. You're sick, James said to Victoria, but I saw doubt in his eyes. I'm practical, and now we all know where we stand. I looked at this woman who ate at my table, helped me with Christmas, and knew she never saw me as a person. I was just a problem to fix. There's something else James should know, I said about the timing. Victoria's head snapped to me, tiredness replacing her confidence. 2 weeks ago, I told Caroline I was thinking about changing my will. I never told you this. Victoria, but someone called my lawyer's office last week asking about my will. Someone pretending to be me. That's not Victoria, started the lawyer's secretary. Knew it was not my voice. She called me to check? I smiled grimly. Looks like you got scared. I might change my will before you could do your plan. James looked at Victoria like he never saw her before. You've been watching Dad's money. Stuff. I've been protecting our stuff, Victoria. Snapped her calm. Finally broken. You're too soft. James, too emotional. I walked to my kitchen counter and picked up my landline phone. What are you doing? Victoria asked. I'm calling the police. I dialed 911 and waited. 911. What's your emergency? I need to report someone trying to hurt me and stealing. Said, looking at Victoria, my daughter-in-law has been stealing from me for months and tried to hurt me last night by putting Rue Hypnol in wine. Victoria jumped at me, trying to grab the phone, but James caught her arm. Ma'am, are you in danger? Yes, I said, watching Victoria struggle. The person who tried to hurt me is in my house now. Help is coming. Stay on the line. Victoria stopped struggling and looked at me with hate. You have no idea what you've done. I've just saved my life. I said. Through the window I saw police cars coming. The police will find your fingerprints on that wine bottle. They will find where the Rue Hypnol came from. They will look at every fake paper you made, and then they will put you in prison for a very long time. Police were knocking on my door now, and me, the old man, you thought would be easy to hurt. I'm going to live a very long time, long enough to make sure you never get out of prison. I opened the door and let justice in. The next few hours were a blur of police officers taking things and asking questions. Detective Mark Reynolds, a sharp man in his 40s, took my recording like it was very important. Mr. Thompson, this recording is very good evidence, he said. Putting it in a bag with the Rue Hypnol and fake papers, we have a good case. Victoria sat in my living room, handcuffed, her calm gone. The woman who tried to hurt me for money now looked like what she was, a criminal who got caught. Fingerprint check. They'll take days, but I'm sure we'll find Victoria's prints on that wine bottle. She wasn't wearing gloves when she handled it. Was she? I shook my head. She gave it to me like a gift, made a big show of it. James sat across the room like his world broke. Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have seen the signs. I should have protected you, honey. She fooled me too, and I've been around longer than you. Victoria finally spoke, her voice bitter. Don't act like the victim, Bob. You've been a burden to James for years at least. I was trying to fix the problem. Detective Reynolds raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, I'd say stop talking without a lawyer. Why, what's the worst that can happen? I'm going to prison for trying to hurt someone. Victoria laughed, a harsh sound. Might as well say what I think of this whole thing. That's when I knew Victoria was not just bad. She was stupid, smart enough to plan hurting someone too stupid to know when to stop talking. You know what's funny? She continued, ignoring the detective's warning. I almost succeeded. If you didn't give that wine to Caroline, you'd be dead now, and James and I would be planning your funeral while figuring out how much money we'd get. James made a sound like he was hit. Victoria, stop, please. Why should I stop? It's true. Your father has been living. Okay, time. I'm borrowed time anyway. I just tried to speed it up. Detective was writing fast. Every word. Victoria said made her situation worse, ma'am. You're saying you plan to hurt someone. Are you sure you don't want to every dollar? Victoria shrugged. What's the point? Bob has that recording. You have the evidence. Not stupid enough to think I can get out of this, actually. I thought you're exactly that stupid. But I kept quiet and let her talk. The only thing I regret, Victoria said, looking at me, is that you're still alive. That's when I knew Victoria just made sure she would get a life sentence. 3 months later, I sat in court, watching Victoria's trial with the good feeling of seeing justice done. The prosecutor, David Collins, built a strong case, using my recording. The roadhypnol in Victoria's own confession. But the big surprise came when Detective took the stand to show more evidence. They found he said Miss Victoria Thompson had been looking up Rue de Plum for over 6 months. Her internet history showed searches for how much Rue de Plum kills, how long it's in your body, and how to make death look like an innate. The jury looked horrified. Victoria sat at the table, finally looking scared. Detective also said this was not her first try. 2 months before the wine thing, Mrs. Thompson bought a bottle of sleeping pills with a fake name. Security cameras showed her buying them with cash. My blood got cold. What were those pills for? They think she planned to crush them in my food or drink. But the Hypnol would work better, so Victoria had been planning to hurt me for months. Not just weeks. The woman had been at my dinner table, helping me with groceries, all while planning my hurt. David Collins asked Detective if he found other victims. Yes, they found Mrs. Thompson had been stealing from old clients at the insurance place, where she worked part-time. Over 2 years, she stole about $50,000 from different clients. The courtroom got noisy. I did not know Victoria even had a job, let alone one with other people's money. Detective also found she had been faking papers for other family members. Own mom's will had been changed to leave everything to Victoria. Not Victoria's brother. I looked at Caroline. She was white with shock. Victoria had not just tried to hurt me. She had been stealing from her own mom when it was my turn to talk. I walked to the stand with my head up. Victoria's lawyer, tired public defender, tried to make me look like a confused old man who did not understand Victoria. Mr. Thompson, isn't it true you've been sad since your wife died? Yes, it is, and isn't it true you thought about hurting yourself? I looked at the jury. I had some sad times after Elizabeth died. Thinking and planning are very different. I never tried to hurt myself. Your client spent months planning to hurt me for money. But you did have many sleeping pills, Mr. Thompson. I had extra medicine from a hard time. I kept them. Throwing away medicine seemed wasteful, but I never used them to hurt anyone. Unlike your client who put Rohypnol in wine for me. The lawyer looked upset. Mr. Thompson, isn't it possible your client just wanted to help you feel better? I smiled. If your client wanted to help me feel better, she could have suggested therapy or grief help, or many other good things. She did not need to drug my wine and fake my will to take my money. That's not helping someone feel better. That's hurting for money. The courtroom was silent, and for the record, I continued. I feel good now that Urbina is in prison, where she belongs the day of Victoria's sentencing. The courtroom was full. Caroline sat beside me. She got over her shock about her daughter's true self. James sat on the other side, looking older than 35. Judge Robert Jenkins was a strict man in his 60s, who had seen many criminals. Mrs. Victoria Thompson, he began, you have been found guilty of trying to hurt someone, fraud, elder, abuse, and stealing before I decide your punishment. Do we have anything to say? Victoria stood up slowly for a moment. I thought she might feel sorry, but instead she said, Your Honor, I think the prosecution made this bigger than it is. Yes, I made some bad choices, but my intentions were not bad. I was just trying to fix money problems for my family. I could not believe it even now, facing life in prison. Victoria was trying to make it seem small. She continued saying, she thinks Mr. Robert Thompson has been mean in this case. He's an old man, living alone with no real purpose in life. I was actually trying to help him by. That's enough, Judge Jenkins said sharply. Mrs. Thompson, what you said shows you feel no sorry for your crimes. You tried to hurt an innocent man for money. You faked legal papers, stole money, and did not care about human life. Victoria's face went pale. Also, you're trying to say it's not bad shows you are dangerous to society. You show no chance to get better, and no understanding of how bad your crimes were. He looked at his papers. Mrs. Victoria Thompson, I sentence you to life in prison without chance of getting out for trying to hurt someone. Also, you will serve 25 years for fraud and stealing at the same time. You will also pay back money to all the people you hurt, including Mr. Robert Thompson and the clients you stole from at the insurance place. Victoria fell into her chair like her strings were cut. Also, Judge Jenkins continued, I'm saying you should be in maximum security. For safety of other prisoners and workers, your lack of care for human life makes you dangerous, even in prison. As the officer led Victoria away in chains, she turned to look at me one last time, her face full of hate and anger. This isn't over, Bob, she mouthed. I smiled and mouthed back, yes it is. First time in months, I felt completely safe. 6 months after Victoria's sentencing, I was sitting on my back porch having coffee when James's car came into the driveway. He had been visiting every Sunday since the trial ended, and he slowly fixed our relationship morning. Dad, he called, carrying bakery box and flowers. Those flowers are beautiful, but it's not my birthday. James grinned. I know they're congratulations. Flowers, congratulations for being the bravest man. He knows, and for saving both our lives. I raised an eyebrow for both our lives. James sat down in the chair beside me, putting the flowers on the table. He's been thinking a lot about what would have happened if Victoria's plan worked. If I drank that wine and died, that's a dark thought for a nice morning. But it's important, because he realizes Victoria would not have stopped with hurting me once she got away with it. Once she had all that money, what would stop her from deciding he was a problem, too? The thought scared me, but I saw the logic. Victoria showed no care, no limits to what she would do. For money, James continued. She married him for his money, but she would have inherited everything from me, him not needed. How long before she decided a sad man with a big insurance policy was her next target? Don't think about that, honey. It didn't happen. And it didn't happen because I was smart enough to give that wine away, because I was brave enough to fight back, because I recorded her confession, called the police. James reached over and squeezed my hand. You didn't just save your own life. Dad, you saved mine too. We sat quietly for a while, watching birds at my feeder. My life changed a lot since that night Victoria brought the wine. I got a security system, new locks, and started self-defense classes at the community center, but more importantly, I got back my sense of self. I was no longer just a lonely widower living on the edges of other people's lives. I was a survivor, a fighter, a man who faced down a killer. And won. There's something else, James said, pulling an envelope from his jacket. The insurance company finished their check and is giving me compensation for Victoria's fraud. I opened the envelope and stared at the check inside. $50,000. They said it's for the stress and the fake policy changes Victoria made. It's mine, free and clear. I looked at that check and felt something I had not felt in years. Financial security. Not rich, but enough money to know I'd be okay, no matter what. So I asked James what I'm going to do with this, and he asked what I told him. I'm going to take that cruise. I've always wanted to take the one to Alaska. Elizabeth and I always talked about, but never took. James smiled. That sounds perfect. Dad, and when I come back, I'm going to volunteer at the district attorney's office. They asked if I'd help other old people hurt by money abuse. Apparently, my case has become famous. In legal circles, the man who recorded his own daughter-in-law's hurt confession, James said with pride. I love it. As we sat there planning my new future, I realized something important. Victoria had tried to end my life, but instead she gave me a reason to start living again. 1 year after Victoria's sentencing, I stood at the podium in the community center talking to a room full of old people and their families. The local police asked me to speak about elder abuse prevention, and the room was full. My name is Robert Thompson. I began, and I'm here to tell you how my daughter-in-law tried to hurt me for insurance money and how I made sure she will spend her life in prison for it. The room was silent. Everyone listening a year ago. I thought I was just a lonely widower living on a fixed income with no real purpose. I let people make decisions for me. I trusted without asking questions, and I made myself weak because I did not think I had power. I paused, looking at all the faces. Many looked like I did a year ago, tired, resigned, invisible, but here's what I learned. Age does not make you weak. Being alone does not make you defenseless. And being trusting does not mean you have to be a victim. I told them about the wine, the recording device, the courage it took to call the police. Told them about the importance of asking questions, protecting their money, information, and trusting their feelings. When something felt wrong, the most important thing I can tell you, I concluded, is that it's never too to fight back. It's never too late to protect yourself, and it's never too late to start living the life you deserve. The applause was loud afterward. Dozens of people came up to thank me, to share their own stories, to ask for advice. An old man named Frank pulled me aside. "Mr. Thompson, my grandson has been pushing me to change my will after hearing your story. I think I need to ask harder questions." So I told him, "Trust your feelings and write everything down." A woman named Dorothy hugged me with tears in her eyes. "My daughter-in-law has been taking money from me for months. I thought I was helping them. Now I wonder," and I told her, "You're not responsible for your adult children's money problems, and taking without asking isn't taking. It's stealing." As I drove home that evening, I thought about how much my life had changed. The scared, lonely man who gave away a bottle of wine was gone, in his place was someone stronger, wiser, and more purposeful than I'd ever been. My phone buzzed with a text from James saying he saw the news about my speech online, and that I looked amazing. Elizabeth would be so proud. He was right. My wife would have been proud of the man I'd become, but more importantly, I was proud of myself. I pulled into my driveway and noticed a police car parked across the street. Detective Reynolds rolled down his window and waved, saying, "He's just doing a routine check, Mr. Thompson. How are you doing?" So I told him I'm doing wonderfully and asked how Victoria is adjusting to prison life. Detective Reynolds grinned, saying, "Let's just say she's learning. There are consequences for her actions. Word is that the other prisoners aren't too fond of people. People try to hurt old family members." I smiled, saying, "I imagine not." As I walked into my house, I felt the deep satisfaction that comes from justice served and a life well lived. Victoria had tried to make me a victim, but instead, she'd made me a survivor, and survivors, I learned, were much more dangerous than victims. That night, as I sat on my porch with a glass of wine, one I'd bought, and opened myself, I raised a toast to the future, to new adventures, new purposes, and the unshakable knowledge that Robert Thompson was nobody's victim. The wine tasted like victory. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters first.